Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Daddy Dino Show. Thank you. Today we're going to be talking about a very important topic, and that's the issues with gender-affirming care on children. Let's do it. So first things first, here in the Daddy Dino Show, we follow two rules, folks. Two rules. Usher, yes, usher. Millennial shout out. Rule number one, don't be a jerk. Nobody likes a bully. No name calling. That means you, comment section. Don't make me come down there. If I name call, please call me out on it. I'll try to watch it, but I'm not perfect. Rule number two, be ready to disagree. I'm gonna be honest with my views, folks. That might ruffle some feathers, and I'm okay with it. I want you to disagree with me. Let's have a discussion. Let's make this productive. But remember to be nice. Don't be a jerk. See rule number one. Alrighty then, Ace Ventura. Let's get started. Concern numero uno, we are treating the wrong thing. The whole idea of transgenderism is that sex and gender are different. Roll the clip.
Sex is the thing you were given at birth. It's what the nurse decided when she looked between your legs. But then the World Health Organization describes gender as something else. Gender is a socially constructed concept. Gender is hair, gender's makeup, gender is a suit and tie. None of those things are sex.
All right, nice person in the Piers Morgan show, let's agree. Gender and sex are different. Then why does gender-affirming care treat and change the sex? Suspicious. Why can't the child identify as a female gender, but keep their male sex? I mean, it just feels like so much of the confusion is being caused by advocates and experts not following the same definitions they themselves are teaching others.
We did not assign a sex at birth, which means when they were born, they had genitals and we know what they are. We just chose to acknowledge that those genitals don't indicate anything about gender.
Sparrow's parents decided to raise their baby gender neutral, meaning Sparrow will decide gender when older. Even Sparrow's birth certificate says sex unknown.
You see? This parent said, we know the child's anatomy, yet they put unknown under sex on their birth certificate. Why? You just said you know the child's anatomy. You know their sex. But wait, maybe this is just a single case of somebody who got confused, right?
Are proposing a change to New York City birth certificates today.
Oh, they want an option for adults who do not identify with their gender, and they would be able to choose X for their own birth certificate.
Parents in New York who don't want to identify the gender of their newborn can classify the sex of their child as undetermined or unknown.
All right, I give up. Come on, folks. Surely you have to know what you're doing wrong here. Gender and sex are different. You have to be a lot more precise with your terminology if you're going to start changing the lives of children and legal documentation. Now their sex will forever be a social media platform. Let's move on. Concern number two. Can't not do it. I gotta do it. Shout out to Usher. If the male and female gender are social construct, then why isn't transgender a social construct? Now, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. See rule number one. If the male gender and the female gender are both social constructs, why isn't transgender a social construct? I mean, the World Health Organization and the Trevor Project both say gender is a social construct. The World Health Organization even said gender changes from society to society and over time. So, and if it is a social construct, how are children born this way?
Children who feel they were born in the wrong body.
There was never a doubt I am a girl.
She started saying things like, when are we going to go to the doctor to get me fixed?
Now let me be clear. I'm not saying transgenderism isn't real. It is real. Saying it's a social construct does not mean it's not real. It just means it's not innate. It's not immutable. Meaning no, transgender children were not born in the wrong body. Do they think they were born in the wrong body? Yes. They think that because they think their gender has to match their sex, when we know that is not true, right? Say it.
There is a difference. There is biological sex, and a lot of times people are conflating sex and gender. So there's biological sex and then there's gender, and that's a social construct.
See, she gets it. Moving on. Now, it being a social construct will help the rates of children identifying as transgender make sense, since they are much higher than adults. And since children are more impressionable to social trends, a report done by the UCLA School of Law, the Williams Institute, found that in the last 5 years, rates of children identifying as transgender have doubled, while rates of adults have remained steady. That same report found that 18% of the transgender community are made up of 13 to 17-year-olds, while that same age group only makes up 8% of the general population, meaning that minors are overrepresented among the community. And this doesn't even consider any child who's younger than 13 years old identifying as transgender, which is becoming increasingly more common. Now, the concern for me is not that more children identifying as transgender, is that these children have a certain dislike for their body that they want to alter and change it. And that's not okay. Why? Because gender and sex are different.
And sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction.
I mean, we have gone from telling little boys to act like boys to telling children who act like boys to look like boys too. That's not inclusivity. That is not acceptance. That's just another version of social conformity and conversion therapy. Gender-affirming care is just trying to put kids back in a box. But get rid of the box. Keep the sex though. Don't get rid of sex. One of our responsibilities as parents is to teach our kids to love their gender and their sex, because they're both a part of them. Which brings me to concern number 3. You can't do it with 3. It has to be 2. Concern number 3. Gender-affirming care appeases bullies. To talk about this topic, let's listen to the words of our Assistant Secretary of Health, Dr. Rachel Levine. Hit it.
Trans youth are vulnerable, and they suffer significant harassment and bullying, sometimes at schools or in their community. They have more mental health issues, but there's nothing inherent with being transgender or gender diverse which would predispose youth to depression or anxiety. It is that harassment and bullying.
So we're changing a kid's appearance, socially, medically, and in some cases surgically, to help them assimilate and feel more comfortable around a bunch of bullies? Yeah? How is this okay? How is this the best idea we can come up with? To put the burden on the child, the victim in this case. We have come such a long way from body positivity. Body positivity is so far, to get back to us, they have to take a plane. And it's not a direct flight. They have to stop at Denver and fly Frontier, economy, by the restroom.
It's okay if you fly Frontier. I fly Frontier too. You just can't beat those prices.
I mean, if my child comes to me and says, Dad, I'm being bullied because of who I am, I'm not going to say, you know what, kid? Those bullies may be onto something. No! Bad! Bad parent. What I am going to say is, forget those bullies. You're freaking awesome, kid. Now, I know some parents and people may be thinking, it's so much easier said than done. And I would agree with you, it is hard. It's an uphill battle to teach our kids body positivity. But that's the job, folks. That's what we signed up for. That's what the birth certificate is. It's just a no return policy. What's the alternative, parents? Change our children's body so that they can fit in to a social construct and appease a bunch of bullies who never liked them? No, I'm not doing that. No thanks. No gracias. Count me out. Clock out. Hasta luego. See you later. Hasta la vista, baby. I need to stop yelling. This isn't good for my blood pressure. To be clear, I'm not mad. I'm Mexican. This is just how we talk. Shout out to my beautiful mama.
I love you, Mom. I don't think you talk really loud.
This brings me to my 4th concern. Concern number 4, people are conflating gender-affirming care with transgender people. Let's be clear. Gender-affirming care is a treatment model. Transgender people are people. Those two things are vastly different. My disapproval for gender-affirming care should not determine my support for transgender people. I mean, I also disapprove of circumcisions. Does that make me anti-boy? No. I would say it actually makes me the opposite. Have you seen how we do those things? Moving on. My point is that we should all be very skeptical when advocates start sounding like Pfizer salespeople, especially when there's money to be made. And oh boy, is there money to be made. A recent study found that the gender-affirming surgery market in the US is expected to grow from 2.1 billion in 2022 to 5 billion in 2030. That is a compound annual growth rate of more than 11%. That's greater than the S&P 500. Moreover, the report attributed much of this growth to increased popularity among transgender people. When do we talk about insulin or cardiac medications as popular? Oh, hey Bill, how are you? How's your diabetes? It's good, I'm on insulin right now. Oh, insulin? That's so popular right now. No. To add to my personal distrust of gender-affirming care, a Vanderbilt doctor was filmed during a lecture saying this.
And in the female to male bottom surgeries, these are huge money makers. Again, I think this has to be an underestimate that they're quoting around $20,000 for a phalloplasty. There's been different things that I've read that said it could be up to $100,000. Dr. Winokur, who's our surgeon, says that there's entire clinics where the entire clinic is supported just by their phalloplasties, and that is like a fraction of the surgeries that they're doing. These surgeries are labor intensive, they require a lot of follow-ups, they require a lot of OR time, and they make money. They make money for the hospital.
Now, let's be clear. That video does not mean that they were just after the money, but they were definitely excited about it, which just points out the screwed up incentive structures that we have in place that we should all be aware of and very skeptical of. I mean, the psychiatric specialty has historically ranked low in earnings when compared to the plastic surgery specialty. So forgive me when I become skeptical when I see the standard of care is to treat depression and suicidality with a surgery. Because gender is not the same thing as sex.
There's a difference between sex and gender, and I think in these conversations we're conflating the two.
Is it getting annoying now? I should stop. And now for my last concern, numero 5. Can't see me? John Cena. Concern number 5, children cannot consent to gender-affirming care. Now, this should not be controversial, folks, but with the help of science, we have determined that children lack the mental capacity, the brain development, to weigh their options appropriately and consequences to make life-altering decisions. To demonstrate this, I will recruit my 5-year-old son to carry out a very scientific, irrefutable study. All right, Shrimp, I'm gonna ask you a question. Tell me which one you want. Do you want this $100 bill or this awesome cookie? Now let's bring in the princess, my 2-year-old. Princess, I'm gonna ask you a question. Which one do you want? Do you want this cookie or this $100 bill? Okay, y'all can go out. Thank you, I love you both.
I think my kids are broken.
I'm just kidding, that was staged. This is the real reaction. All right, Shrimp, I'm gonna ask you a question. Which one do you want? This $100 bill or this cookie?
Cookie.
All right, princess, you ready? I have one question, okay? Tell me which one you want. You want this $100 or this cookie?
Cookie.
All right, good job, princess. My point is, kids cannot consent. To protect kids, we have created an age of consent around decisions that could have life-altering consequences. Gender-affirming care is one of those decisions. Again, my concern is not that children identify as different genders, as that is a social construct. My concern is that children dislike their body so much they want to alter it. Children experiencing these feelings should be reminded or taught that sex and gender are different and put through therapy so that they can grow comfortable with their body. Now, some of you may be thinking that we've tried therapies and it doesn't work. Gender-affirming care is the only thing that works. That is just not true. A recent study done by the Trevor Project found that over 60% of children who identify as LGBTQ do not have proper mental health support. So we should do that. What is true is that over 50% of young people who identify as transgender or non-binary have considered suicide in the last year. So as a society, we can all do better at how we interact with these children. That means that we must teach our children to be kind and accepting of people who are different than us, and to show compassion for people that we may not understand. In contrast, we must also teach our children self-love. Teach them to love their mind and their body, and teach them that they don't have to change their body and appearances to be accepted or loved. Those are my thoughts on the topic. I will do my best to respond to all the comments I can, but please remember the first rule. If you like the video, press the like button. If you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.